There are two separate worlds, online and the real world. These days, more and more students are taking risky actions online without parents and teachers being aware of anything that's happening right in front of their eyes. Result, schools should be able to monitor students' use of social media outside and inside of school. Our first reason is it catches threatening behavior from students. Our second reason is it educates students about oversharing their information and inappropriate posting. Our third reason is it prevents cyberbullying. With these three reasons, we believe schools should be able to have control over a student's social media. Our first main reason why schools should monitor students' social media inside and outside school is it catches threatening behavior. In the article by 5SocialMedia, it states that 18 months ago, schools started surveilling students' social media activity in order to catch threatening behavior from students. Because of this, they found 3 students in Facebook posting pictures with firearms. Some people also say that it's the parents' job and not the school's, but in the TV show, #being13, it states that approximately 94% of the parents have no clue what's going on in social media. Our second argument shows how monitoring can educate students about the dangers of oversharing information. According to CNN War Service, a study had found that even 13-year-olds are exposed to the sexual lifestyle of the internet. 50% of teens report they received photos. In March 2014 in Virginia, a mom had found out her 14-year-old daughter named Jasmine was involved in an Instagram porn page, where there were several other girls listed with her. As they were being interviewed, many of them got defensive, saying, "I don't see any problem with it, it's my body." Those girls weren't thinking of how their online actions can affect their future as they grow up. As teens, it's important to have the guidance of adults because they have more experience. And if schools are monitoring, they'll be able to discipline students properly and prevent them from mistakes that can scar their future. With help from schools, students can easily become, without help from schools, students can easily become a target. Our final argument is that it helps prevent cyberbullying. Studies have found that 4 in 10 teens have already been cyberbullied this year. It can also lead to suicide. A 13-year-old boy committed suicide after his peers spread rumors online that the boy was gay. Cyberbullying is usually outside school, but it can affect students' academic and behavioral problems. Social media can, in fact, prevent cyberbullying.
You probably wouldn't like it if someone was watching your every move on social media and telling you what you can and can't do. This is why schools should not be able to monitor students' social media inside of school or out. Some things that we will be talking to you about today that this problem causes are: 1, monitoring students' social media invades their privacy and makes them feel unsafe and uncomfortable. 2, it costs too much money and it wastes the school's resources. And lastly, we will be talking to you about the effects of monitoring students' social media inside and outside of school. Everyone here has some form of social media. So if this happened in Waukee, I'm sure you guys would disagree with this because it invades your own personal matters and your own personal lives. And it just causes more problems than it can solve. Going along with that, monitoring social media invades privacy of our personal lives and our safety. These programs and the district have totally overstepped what is necessary to protect students, says Brennan Ham, an attorney with the American Civil Union. Many people think that schools should not be able to monitor students' social media. This is just what a couple of them said. Instead of hiring a company that costs $40,000 to monitor kids' online activities, schools should empower the students to support their classmates because if there is a threat to cause harm, most of the time, students know about it. Justin Patchen, co-director of Cyberbullying Research Center, says. The next quote comes from J.D. Farrows-Rao, a chief administrations officer, and he says, a teacher, for example, can call out a student's picture for showing too much skin, and that he encourages their teachers to interact with students online. This is why schools should not be able to monitor students' social media. It's their way to communicate and it's their way to express themselves, and it makes them feel uncomfortable if we can call them out on their own personal matters. And this leads to them feeling unsafe and having invaded privacy, and then they won't report problems. And schools only find out about problems if they're reported. So when it comes time to face a problem online, We should teach them how to deal with it instead of wasting our resources and stepping way over boundaries of privacy. Thank you.
Why waste all your money just to make a student feel uncomfortable for invading their privacy? Monitoring students' every move on social media is extremely expensive. According to CNN, the Glendale School District was in the spotlight for hiring a tech firm for $40,000 to monitor their students. Also, in Huntsville, Alabama, they hired a former FBI agent for $157,000 to also monitor their students. 2 school districts and 3 schools on average pay $4,000 to $9,000 a year. Students can also find ways around this. By simply making their account private, they can avoid being monitored. Therefore, schools are just wasting their money. Very few schools monitor their students because very few schools can afford it. Money can and should be spent better on opportunities that affect their learning, such as programs that promote common sense on social media. Students should be informed before they're exposed. Why not educate instead of invade?
Social media monitoring is affecting students inside and outside of school. It's students' expression of their own thoughts and feelings to their friends. For the school to intrude in that area, I understand they can do it, but I don't think it's right, said Young Cho, a 16 and junior student. Mike Hagan, Assistant Athletic Director for Compliance at Liberty, says, "We trust our kids, and we don't believe that something is going to happen. It's the same thing with social media. If we educate them and give them the good tips, we will provide them with that freedom." States and even the federal government are debating the need to implement legislation to make sure privacy rights aren't violated when schools are required to monitor students' social media accounts. Mike Hagan, the Assistant Athletic Director in Delaware, trusts his students/athletes well enough not to monitor their social media accounts. Parents feel that monitoring their kids' social media lives should be left to them, and their kids agree. If schools are monitoring everything kids do on social media, they are able to fully express themselves.
All right, teams, take 2 minutes to prepare your rebuttals. Make sure you're addressing your opponent's arguments in those rebuttals.
Let's start going. Like a lot more fun one. Sure.
How do I get?
I've never been nervous.
Well, it's being recorded and like too happy.
I mean, it's not. It goes on YouTube or like to do.
It is.
Yeah, but only you teachers.
And their students.
Kind of.
They show it to them.
Yeah. They could probably hear our conversation.
Yeah.
What's this cameraman?
I am. Even if I did, like, I don't know because we just
Wait. What's the point? What's the point of the microphone? Like.
Oh man, just go there.
Yeah, you don't need it though. Like you can see it. Everyone will hear it.
I guess just for the camera. Audio or something.
You know my meetings are on there. I sometimes read it. I sometimes read a lot.
and then
So in the back of it, it's like.
then he was next year I'm taking and I was like, sorry, I'm
So they should put the speaker like right next to the camera. Like with me, like loud that'd be. Yeah.
and then he was like,
They're putting like one bar and one
so I
bar.
come and all
Today, I think.
All right, teams, that's 2 minutes. Audience, bring your conversations to a close, please. Thank you. Affirmative, we'd like to hear your rebuttals.
As my opponent said, that it invades students' privacy, but even though it invades students' privacy, if the students are doing something bad, the school should protect them. Isn't it better safe than sorry? They also said that it's too expensive, but even though it's too expensive, like I said, it's important for the schools to protect their students, and it also gives them like better educational opportunities to keep them safe.
Thank you. Negative rebuttals.
My opponents brought up that monitoring social media can help educate the student when really most schools would prefer not to monitor a student activity on social media outside of their school activities, because there are thousands of student communications per day. There's no way a school district could keep up on top of all that. My opponents also brought up that monitoring social media prevents cyberbullying when many parents worry about their kids being bullied, but the reactions are to lock down social media and monitor the students' every move of fear of what might happen. Unfortunately, this reaction prevents teens from learning how to apply the social ethics we have hopefully taught them both in our home and in our school. And lastly, my opponent said monitoring social media catches threatening behavior, but educators who are monitoring social media are taking on a risk that they have not been trained for, such as identifying whether a student is actually serious about committing suicide or not.
Affirmative, can we have your closing statements?
Schools should be able to monitor students' use of social media to help students make smarter decisions and live a mentally healthy life. It catches threatening behavior, educates about inappropriate pictures, and prevents cyberbullying. What happens when someone gets hurt or is in danger? Would you give a little bit of your privacy to save someone else's safety? I know I would.
Closing.
Schools should not be able to monitor students' use of social media both during and outside of school. Social media is a way to express our feelings to friends, while school monitoring invades our privacy and wastes huge amounts of money that we could use for new technology, building advances, and extracurricular activities. Students may also feel uncomfortable if they get called out for doing something on social media, which could lead to bullying. The Hornets, a college team, brought in a speaker to talk to student athletes about responsible use on social media, which led to an educational program to teach kids smart ways to act online. In one of my articles it says, and now states and even the federal government are debating the need to implement legislation to make sure privacy rights aren't violated when schools become involved with social media. In summary, monitoring invades privacy, costs too much money, and can cause bullying. So if you can't handle the heat, watch your next tweet.
Round of applause for this crew, please.